Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Rohan Sinha. I am a senior architect working for Tata Consultancy Services. I am usually working for the BFSI vertical group in TCS, primarily focusing on DevSecOps and related paradigms. So, in this DevOps Summit 2022, I am going to discuss about automating DevOps assessment in real time with DevOps Score Dashboards. So, let me move on to the next slide. So basically, when we talk about DevOps assessment, let me give an overview of it. So primarily in this current industry standard, uh, people are looking for faster time to market and faster application development journey and various other factors they want to improve in the current industry scope. So when we do a DevOps assessment, when a portfolio does a DevOps assessment, they usually go and look into what are the things that they can improve into their current system, whether their development model and deployment models are in sync with the DevOps journey that is required to be benefiting in their current packages. So in current world, many of the portfolios are usually assessing DevOps in a manual fashion okay, let us improve the DevOps journey. So what they do is they would come up and do an assessment based on how their deployment model looks like, how their CI/CD pipeline looks like, whether their environments have been tested properly or not, whether it is automated, whether they have quality testing in an automation fashion or not. And these kind of things can be answered in uh, any fashion. But the problem lies is that when we do an assessment in a manual fashion and after a few months, if we want to look where we have reached right now, then we again have to do another assessment in a manual fashion and it might take again another huge amount of time. So, which is a kind of what to say, it's like a serious process and to get informed about those informations are time consuming. So when we have an automated DevOps assessment, you would have the same answers in an automated way, and you would be having uh, data provided to you in a timely fashion without having any manual intervention and less toil. So what are the benefits of having an automated DevOps assessment? So first, we have a automated and seamless view of DevOps adoption levels, meaning any portfolio owner can just come up and look into the screen and have a seamless view of where they are standing. They can have a comparison as well with other applications in his own portfolio. So second is KPI data and insights to improve DevOps journey. So the KPIs that would be represented in the dashboards would ideally be giving the insights by itself on with some numbers and metrics numbers by which a portfolio owner can directly understand where he needs to improve on. This would further lead to business growth and employee productivity as well by lessening out the toils and manual efforts. Further, this would identify potential improvements in DevOps practices. Example, whether they are tracking story points and in their epics and features properly, or whether they are doing quality assessments in an automated way or not. And at the last, it is considered like we would have faster time to market as well, meaning when we are talking about a DevOps journey, we would require continuous integration and deployment. So this would further lead to faster time to market. Hence, any application owners would, the product owner would be pleased to see his product developing in a faster fashion, and he could see features by features, developed and shown in a seamless way. Moving on next, I am going to discuss about how this model looks like in a simplistic fashion. So here lies on the left hand side the app owner who would be looking forward ultimately to a progress in their DevOps journey. But to be able to see that, he would need to onboard his application into the framework, that is uh, automated DevOps assessment framework. This framework is developed in a way where you could onboard applications seamlessly so that you have required data being passed through the framework in a timely way, and it has those calculations involved inside this framework. In the next, on the right hand side, we would be seeing the report and scores, which would include the metrics KPI data, example, velocity, lead time, deployment frequency, code quality, etc. These are the data that are further uh, basically how it is calculated from the assessment framework, and then it is passed on to the report level. So further down, if you see the arrows on the which is going towards the app owner itself, it represents that the app owner is going to see his report and scores, showing a continuous assessment maturity for each portfolio, meaning he is able to see in a timely way how his application is being improved or developing in this DevOps journey or not. By looking into this KPI, you would further be able to make efficient and effective decision making in maturing DevOps. So this model is a simplistic representation of the model. Now I'm going to describe the illustrative architecture of this model. So from the left hand side, if you can see, this is the source layer, and we have in between we have data layer, and we have business logic layer, and the final we have the presentation layer. So in the source layer, which is on the left hand side, we are talking about hooking up all the available tools in the market, which can show the quality log, the work item level log, the security related level log, and deployment related log, build and deployment related log. Like we have Azure boards and Atlassian Jira boards, which would show us the work level log, work item level log. And for the deployment and build logs, we can use Jenkins or Azure DevOps Pipeline or Bamboo, whichever available tool that is being suitable to the application. And for the quality and security logs, we have SonarQube and Veracode, which are the automated tools. So this can also be integrated with any other custom tool also in a flexible way if required. Now, using an edge network, considering the portfolio is having a private network, we might have to consider passing on to the edge network, and the architecture has to be developed in such a way that the logs are passed in a seamless way through the virtual network. Now, within the virtual network, we will be having the business logic layer, where the code, the developer on the top, you can see, developer would be creating the code on the Git, and using a seamless CI/CD pipeline, he would be developing and putting the code into the business logic layer, which would transform the data for the DevOps maturity logic. Using the help of the business logic layer, the data would further be down passed to the SQL which is the data layer, where the data would be placed in a simplistic way. How can it be read? Further, the front end can be used to, like example, ClickSense, or it can be Power BI, or it can even be Kibana. The data can be passed through the SQL database, and the data would be displayed in a suitable way how a user would be wanting to look at, or it could, in simple way, it's a user-friendly uh, visual layer. So using this method, uh, the this architecture is going to describe how like we are going to show a simplistic view of the uh, assessment logic. The next, I'm going to describe about the workflow of the assessment framework. These are divided into four parts, which is the data abstraction, we have data transformation, we have data load, and we have data display. In the data extraction layer, the extraction is ideally done via API code, or it can be even done using database code. And it can be extracted from various tools, like I showed before. The tools can be Azure DevOps, Bamboo, Jira, SonarQube, Veracode, etc. Azure DevOps can give you data for uh, deployment, build, and even work items. Bamboo can show you deployment log. Jira can show you work item level log. SonarQube can show you quality log. And finally, Veracode can show security log. And this can further go down to any other tools that are available, which a portfolio might be. Further down, the data is gathered and transferred to calculate the required output for the respective KPIs. In the next, the data is being calculated and stored in the database in a structured format. Finally, the respective data would be fetched from the database to display the metrics KPI to the end user. So this is a simplistic view of the workflow of this assessment framework. Now I'm going to give an overview of the DevOps adoption level that we have used. And as I have showed you before, like how we are extracting data from various tools, now I'm going to describe about what are the metrics and how we are defining a scale to assess the DevOps adoption level. We have divided these assessment levels into low, medium, and high. Low would ideally mean the DevOps adoption level is not up to the standard. Medium would ideally mean that the DevOps adoption levels are gradually improving and it has a possibility to get into the standards. And high meaning the portfolio is very highly moving already into the DevOps journey. So we have in an example, when we say quality tests are manually done for an application and are not automated, it automatically means that they have a lot of failures and toil, due to which their even the completing the application development might take a longer time. In this kind of data, we can have various metrics like code quality. Code quality is ideally defined like how many bugs are there present in the code, available code. Technical depth is another metric we should ideally define. If a code has been developed, how much effort might be required to further improve the code or any bugs that might be present to fix the code in the future. Unit tests would ideally define whether the code is properly tested in the unit test perspective, so that there are no further choice required to improve the code. If ideally in these things, in this journey from a quality perspective, a high DevOps adoption level would mean that all the quality tests are automated already with tools like SonarQube or Sonar Cloud, and they would represent good quality scores as well. Like code quality should be like there should not be any bug in the code, or there should not be any technical depth, or hardly a very less amount of technical depth, or less amount of unit tests that has not been done. The second, we are going to discuss about deployments. In this current industry, if the deployments are done manually and it's not automated, it would definitely represent a low adoption level. in the DevOps journey. Faster the deployment, the higher the DevOps adoption level. Now, in this, we can have a few KPIs which can be even tracked from the deployment logs, or it can be even tracked from the work item log, like lead time to market, which would represent how fast the stories are being completed from the state they are created. And deployment frequency would ideally represent how frequently they are deploying, whether it is taking months or whether it is taking hours to deploy multiple deployments. Finally, we can discuss about bugs, or like if there are higher percentage of bugs per user story, then we definitely consider the standards as low. And even whenever we have the lowest percentage of bugs per user story, it is gradually improving the DevOps maturity. And also, we can have the people perspective of measurement. That means whether the team is having any formal training in Agile or not. If they don't have any formal training in Agile, it represents low adoption level for the DevOps maturity. And if they have training in Agile and DevOps in both Dev and Ops teams, it represents a higher adoption level. Now, how can we measure this? This can be measured through the storyboard, like velocity, bugs per sprint, etc. This definitely represents the people perspective of how the productivity is within the team. And this framework would be even flexible to put more and more KPIs as required by any portfolio or application owners. Moving on to the next, I am showing few samples of the dashboard that how a portfolio owner can view their journey and in a seamless way. First, I'm showing an overall DevOps adoption level per application. In this, there can be n number of applications that is onboarded to the framework. However, with this representation, a portfolio owner or a business owner can look into this and see how each apps are performing in the DevOps journey based on a score out of 10. The blue represents in this diagram a high level of maturity. Medium represents the medium level of maturity with this color code as mentioned. And we have the low maturity level color as well, which is showed. So in the diagram, a reference global benchmark also can be made so that a portfolio owner can understand where he's standing with the benchmark that is set by the industry level standards. I will be moving on to the next. So this diagram represents an adoption level per KPI. I have given a few KPI examples where like example velocity, bugs per sprint, lead time, technical depth, deployment frequency, etc. Now with this view, and the application owners can see how each of their applications are performing at an individual level, how their scores are being looked at per KPI, with this view they can directly understand where they need to improve it using the help of the color codes that is mentioned. Finally, this is another representation where if an end user wants to understand not just by the score, he can individually look into the dashboards for each KPI individually. Example, a deployment frequency can have its own dashboard which representing deployment frequency KPI for each and every app that is available that is onboarded into the framework. Citing this example for deployment frequency, if you can see on the left hand side, application 1 is having 153 days. It means that they are deploying, they are having a deployment each score 150 after 150 days, which is a very low standard in this current industry standard. And App 10 is in the last is doing a deployment every 16 days, which is still not up to the standard yet, and that's why we have put it into the medium level of scale. A faster, a high level of DevOps maturity would represent deployments being done hourly or at least daily. This kind of views can be made for each and every KPI for an end user to understand their maturity level in a seamless view. So that's all from my side. Thank you and have a great day.